As a fellow child of the 90s, let me ask you, what were your favorite video game systems growing up?
I got to go with the N64.
Okay.
I tell you what, I played the N64 for the first time, whatever year it came out. They
96.
96.
In the USA, yeah.
They had a demo set up at my local store, and I got to play Mario 64 for the first time. And when you're coming from the SNES, which is 2D platformers, no 3D, it's all just scrolling across or moving forward in a Harrier jet or something.
Yeah.
N64, you've got 3 dimensions that you can play in, and it blew my mind.
And the 4th dimension is time, and you got as much as you need.
Oh, yeah. For 2 years, I played GoldenEye 64 every single day. Multiplayer. My brother drove me mad playing Odd Job, and he didn't even...
too short.
He didn't even use weapons. He
just chopped.
Yeah, he just chopped. And because he could get away with it. He would kill people chopping, and you'd try to aim the gun at him, and you wouldn't be able to track him, and he'd kill you. Drove you insane. Also screen peeking. Hated that.
Yeah. You needed even if you had a big screen.
Don't look on someone else's screen. That's cheating. You find out where they're in the vent. Oh, okay, I'm just going to throw a proximity mine up there. My favorite Christmas ever was the year that I got an N64. We opened that thing up and we just started playing Mario 64, and it was a blast.
Did you get it from your parents, or did you get it from Santa?
I can't remember. Maybe it's one and the same. How about you? Favorite video game system?
Oh, geez. I think I was thinking farther back. I was thinking about, I guess I was thinking more about my favorite games from NES and from... I wasn't a Super NES kid.
Really?
I had a Sega Genesis.
Okay.
So I had a Game Boy. I had a Game Boy, too. I really liked video games as a kid, but... for NES, my favorite game was Tiny Toon Adventures. Did you ever play that one?
I played it for SNES.
Really?
I don't know if it was the same thing. Was Buster Rabbit like making a movie or something throughout the course of it?
No.
And then the second level,
I don't think they would have just ported it over.
Yeah.
I think they made a
totally
sequel.
Separate. So I played the SNES version, loved it.
Yeah.
Really great game.
The original for NES was really good.
Yeah.
It was a great platformer.
NES for me, I think it was Super Mario 3. Also the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game. Not the one that's got the crow's eye thing.
Oh, that one was impossible. That's really hard.
No, the arcade game though, that one's still really hard, but it was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
I also really love this era of video games where when bad guys had hit critical mode, they start flashing red.
Right.
And then they start flashing red faster. Yeah.
Oh, one more hit.
Yeah. NES, SNES, N64. Also had a Game Gear. Didn't play too many games for that one.
Game Gear was rough.
Yeah.
Game Gear was really rough.
I did play the TNG game. I tried to have fun with it. I convinced myself I was having fun, but I don't think it was a great game.
Man, that was really a moment in time, I think. Or maybe that was all of time prior to modern history, when you had a thing, you had like a toy, and it wasn't very much fun, but it's what you had, and you just had to convince yourself that it was fun.
Well, and you like showing it off to your friends, and then they would play, and like, whatever, I don't really care. You wanted them to think it was cool that you had this thing. The Sega Game Gear, though, was a pretty special system. I'm a little sad about Sega because I feel like they were groundbreaking in a lot of ways, and for whatever reason it just didn't work out for them, and they're still around, they still make video games, but the Game Gear, man, backlit system, that was some pretty fancy stuff.
6 AA's. You were burning through those puppies in 45 minutes flat.
The
Nomad, that you could play the real Sega Genesis games. It was like a Game Gear, but you could play the Sega Genesis carts in it.
You plug the Sega Genesis carts into a handheld system?
Yeah, it was called the Nomad.
I don't believe you.
All right.
You're making this up.
We'll look it up in the break.
All right. Good luck.
And we're back once again, back to the Long Road Home Alone. I'm
Bought
Joey
and
Z.
sold. Bought and sold.
Jimmy, how you doing?
Long Road Home Alone here. I'm doing okay, I guess, for the time being.
Jimmy's the cog in the corporate machine that he never wanted to be. Well, the show, and more largely Chamber of Commerce here in our hometown of Sheboygan, it's official, has been purchased by local titan Dan Glebensky.
Yeah. This will be fun. This will be a fun run.
But, Dan now we haven't really talked to Dan directly. He's very busy. He runs a lot of companies, but we did talk to HR. We talked to HR this morning.
His Megalopolis HR department reached out to us and said, hey, nothing's going to change. You guys have complete autonomy. Keep running the show the way you want it. It's just going to be business as usual. We're going to take your success and just plug it into our shareholders. So we'll see how that works out.
Well, so far working out fine. No one's here. No one's sitting here in the booth. No one's breathing down our neck.
Well, we're 2 weeks into this 2-year tenure we're stuck under now. So
we got the cash injection. The lamps in here are nice. The wallpaper is nice. It's those tomatoes or whatever you wanted, and they went with that.
Yeah, very generous, Dan Gulbensky.
So I think we're doing good. We're doing good.
You know what? Enough of that. Let's just run the show the way we normally do, like they want us to.
Absolutely.
What's our topic today?
Absolutely. Well, I was thinking we should talk about this is something that we've kind of been dancing around it, for years. Yeah. But this isn't just a movie. This Home Alone motion picture. It's not just a movie.
It's a franchise.
It's a franchise. It's a phenomenon. Yeah. Right. There is so much to consider with the merchandising with Home Alone. Don't you think?
This is a really interesting story because nobody anticipated that Home Alone was going to become this huge hit, one of the top grossing films of all time. And really, when the film released, the only kind of merchandising that was out there was the novelization. If you like the movie, you could buy the novelization.
And that was pretty standard.
That's pretty standard for most
movie,
films.
Right?
Yeah. The Good Son has a novelization, like it's just kind of standard for what movies were back then. Nobody anticipated it was going to be the hit that it was. And as soon as it was a hit, Fox Studios and John Hughes, they were scrambling. People love Home Alone. Let's find a way to make more money off of this. And so in 1991, as Home Alone's taking in all of those grosses, everybody's getting together and figuring out how they're going to make money the next Christmas season off of this. Selling Home Alone toys and promotions. There were crossover promotions with things like Life Cereal. They actually commissioned 80 different cross promotions with various different companies over the course of 1991. And so, you get Christmas season comes out and you've got a few toys from Home Alone. Not great from what I've seen. You've got the pull string doll.
Yes. Yeah. That was Tiger, and that was Tiger's first foray into Home Alone. So it was the talking Kevin doll.
Yeah.
And
there's a smaller plastic version.
There's a smaller one too that screams.
It's not a pull string. It's you move his arm and he does the Kevin scream. McAllister scream.
Yeah.
The pull string does the scream, and then it has 3 or 4 different lines that Kevin does. It's not Macaulay Culkin's voice. They got somebody else for it. I wonder why that was. So you couldn't actually just use audio from the movie?
I don't know. Maybe not.
Look up this pull string doll, though. The little action figure, he's not too creepy. This pull string doll, that thing is just waiting to be possessed by a serial killer's soul. It is really creepy.
It's really impressive how much they were able to roll out over the course of several months for the next holiday season, though, right? Because so it's 1991, right? The movie came out in late 1990, pre-Christmas, right? It's sort of a Thanksgiving-ish release. November 10th or
holiday season.
And so, of course, then it's number one in the box office for 12 weeks or something like that. So now they're scrambling. They're going, oh, wow, this is a phenomenon. Now, of course, keep in mind, everyone, if you're thinking back to the 90s, you couldn't get that movie that you loved from the theater on home video.
It was like a 9-month wait.
It was basically a long wait.
6 to 9 month wait until you got that movie. It was a
very long wait. They had to make sure that it had run completely, that they had sapped every box office dollar out of every screen and every theater.
Yeah.
And this was a big one. But they knew, because it was such a huge hit, that the VHS, the home video release, was going to be huge for Christmas of 91.
Yes.
So now you have this whole year that you have to develop you have to videotape video games.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Well, and yeah, in 1991, you get, I think there are a few different games made for, you got one for the NES, one for the SNES, one for Sega Genesis,
there's one for
Game Boy.
There's one for PC.
And the Ambo system. Have you ever heard of this? The Amiga computers. The Amiga computers also had a video game. Yeah, all in all, there were a ton of video games made for this first movie, released in 1991, which is the perfect time. You know, you're thinking about Home Alone, last Christmas. This is the Christmas movie I love. Let me go buy some products for this.
I had the Game Boy game. Now that's the only Home Alone video game I ever played.
The only Home Alone video game I ever played was for the SNES. It was Home Alone 2, and it was pretty terrible.
Was it?
Yeah, it has all the problems that most of the other Home Alone video games did. The best Home Alone video game, from what I've heard, is for the Sega Genesis, and it actually stayed on theme. You had to go around the house collecting things to build traps. In the original NES and SNES versions of Home Alone, I think you're even fighting robbers who aren't Harry and Marv. You know, it's just like these random strangers. You're grabbing jewelry and throwing it into the basement or something like that.
That was the Game Boy game. And actually, that's a perfect example of a game I spent hours and hours and months and years playing, and it wasn't great, and I didn't love it, but I convinced myself, because I loved Home Alone so much. Yeah. I convinced myself this was a good game. And I got pretty good at a game that was bad.
Yeah, I played through Home Alone 2 quite a bit. I never beat it. I think I got to the final house, and then something about that level just beat me. I remember Brenda Fricker is one of the bosses that you beat halfway through the game, and she's this pigeon lady. I think she's like
this is before you're friends with her, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. You're in Central Park, and she's just sending a bunch of pigeons at you as enemies, and you gotta like jump and I don't know. I don't remember. It wasn't a great game, but it was there, and I played it. I played it quite a bit.
Now there were some. There was a board game too.
There were 5 board games across the series altogether.
Wow.
5 board games. One of them was a card game. One of them, there were 3 made for Lost in New York. Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. One of them was the Tiger electronic game, which had a bunch of like lights and sounds or whatever.
Was that kind of more like a mousetrap?
No,
like you
actually,
had to build it up.
No, actually, there was a separate game that was more like a mousetrap game.
And this is very much had the traps.
Yeah. Did you ever play Mousetrap?
You know, I feel like I didn't own it, but I feel like a friend had it, and I feel like it was one of those games where we tried. Yeah. But it was hard to put together.
My experience with it was that I had a friend who owned it, and he said it's boring as hell. Yeah. Like, don't even bother. You know, and I remember seeing all of the commercials and all of these cool components, and you had to set up this like Connect set or whatever contraption. Yeah. And it looked like it was going to be a blast. And then I went over to my friend's house, and he just refused. It's a boring game. You don't want to play it. It takes way too much time to set up. And so to this day, I've never played that game. But someday, I'm going to play that Home Alone Mousetrap game, because I bet they got it right. And I bet it's just one of these sleeper hits that we're going to find out about in the next few years. It's great.
Probably. It's coming back.
All right, so after that first 1991 season where we're getting the original Home Alone toys, the little doll that pulls the string and a demon comes out of it, Fox Studios and John Hughes had been gearing up for Home Alone 2. They knew a sequel was coming, and the big product that they were going to sell in that movie was going to be the Talkboy.
Right.
And I remember seeing this thing in Home Alone 2 and thinking,
folks at home will remember the Talkboy. Yeah. If you listen to this show, if you made it this far, I think you remember the Talkboy.
You know the Talkboy. So the history behind this is that John Hughes went to a toy company, Tiger, and said, I want a product in this movie that we can sell to kids. They see it in the movie, they go to the toy store, and they can feel like they're a part of Home Alone 2.
And Tiger said, we want that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tiger was just kind of a little-known toy company at that point. Yeah. I think 2XL came out around the same, or at least a later rendition of 2XL. 2XL had been around for a couple decades before then. But
well, and I just want to mention a moment the reason why Tiger, my understanding, the reason why Tiger got this license for what is bound to be a huge movie and not a Mattel or some larger company is because back to the first one, early 1991, they're scrambling for a major toy company. A lot of them passed on the license.
Yeah.
They were like, I don't think that's going to sell. Tiger took the risk. And I think Tiger was the one who made the pull string Kevin
like
toy.
They also produced those handheld electronic games.
They did, right?
It was
right.
like it
that's
was
kind
a
of what they were
game.
known for.
Yeah, it was a single game that you could buy. I remember it had Star Wars toys around the same thing.
Gaiden and stuff like that.
You do the trench run on the Death Star or something.
Yeah,
they did one of those for Home Alone. But yeah, John Hughes went to Tiger and said, "We got a toy here that we want to make for Home Alone 2."
Yeah,
and originally John Hughes was thinking some kind of gun, like a squirt gun or something that's like something that Kevin could use in a situation that was realistic enough.
Right.
And Tiger, the president of Tiger at the time, said, you can't take a gun through an airport. And so, even toy guns, probably a no-no. So let's think of something else that Kevin can actually bring to the airport. And that's when they came up with this idea of this device where he would record his own voice or somebody else's voice and then slow it down or speed it up or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what ended up being released. It was, I think, the following April, the original Talkboy came out. Didn't come with the slow down voice function, though, or the speed up. So that didn't come out until another, I think, 6 months later. And that was the Talkboy Deluxe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, in researching this episode, I hadn't realized what a huge phenomenon Talkboy was in the 90s. Because it didn't stop at these devices that were seen in the movie Home Alone 2, where Kevin records his voice, plays it back, and convinces Tim Curry that he just walked in on Kevin's dad in the shower.
Right.
Recording for, get out of here, you nosy little pervert, I'm going to slap you silly.
Yeah.
and it became such a huge phenomenon after this. Like, how many different there are dozens of Talkboy toys that came out after this.
Dozens.
Yeah. You had the Talkboy, the Talk Girl, the mini versions, you had the keys, the scrambler, the way cool sounds, the 3 Talkboy pens. One of them was like a character or something who had a voice and he would talk to you, and all of these things would record different voices and then play them back with like fart sounds or like sheep baying or whatever. It was
this thing was so Talkboy, this line of products was so popular that a competing toy company, Yes Brands or something like that, came out with the Yak Back, which was a cheaper alternative. And the Yak Back itself was hugely popular in the mid 90s.
I had a Yak Back. I didn't have a Talkboy. I think maybe I had one of the Talkboy pens. I do have a Talkboy now, which I'm a Talkboy Deluxe, which I'm really proud of.
Well, now you're an adult.
Yeah, I can afford such things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had no idea that this was such a huge phenomenon. And when I went back and looked at all of these, like you've got a walkie-talkie, a chatter teeth, my personal favorite, Talkboy Shock Rocker, which I'm just going to put it out there, sounds like the name of a sex toy to me. Talkboy Shock Rocker.
I mean, to me, it sounds like a Sammy Hagar merchandise or something.
What the hell? Yeah, I actually don't know what the Talkboy Shock Rocker does. You also had the Talkboy Sound Squisher, which mixed like the slime kind of aspect to it. You would squeeze a slimy bag and it would make various sounds or something. I don't understand. What is it about a Talkboy that became such a big phenomenon? Why did kids gravitate towards that? This idea of like recording your voice and playing it back and adding sound effects. What's so fascinating about that? Because it goes beyond just wanting to be Kevin from Home Alone 2, right?
Totally. This is speculation, and it's really, I'm just trying to think back to being a kid. But I think that It was the concept of, so think about the 90s, right? We were awash in media, but it was all physical media, and a lot of it was largely commercially released media, right? Yeah. So we're used to listening to tapes. We're used to watching movies on tapes. And also your parents, if they were in business or something like that, may have had a dictaphone, or they may have had a tape recorder. I think to a kid, that level of access to be like, I'm a media producer. I can use the media that I otherwise use as a consumer to listen to music. Now I've got it in the palm of my hand. I can record something myself. I can listen back to myself. I think there's something massively appealing to kids for that.
I can really relate to that because I actually did host a little radio show that I would record on just cassette tape.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a means to record it because it wasn't easy to get a microphone when you were a kid, but you could go to the dollar store and get a set of headphones for $1. And it turns out if you plug those old headphones into the mic jack of your stereo, they become microphones. And so I split that headset in two, and they became two separate microphone pieces. And so me and my friend would basically just make a radio show, you know, either playing old music or something, or just talking about what we thought about a movie.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the proto version of what we're doing here a little bit.
Could be.
Maybe you were that old friend.
Maybe. I doubt it. But
I don't remember it being you. He did have blonde hair.
Yeah. Was it Macaulay Culkin?
It wasn't Macaulay Culkin, but his name sounded similar to that. So
he probably would have had a microphone.
Macaulay Culkin undercover, but you know, he wouldn't have resorted to snapping a pair of headphones in half. He would have had a Talkboy.
He would have had a Talkboy.
The other thing I want to point into this squishiness. Do you remember this from the 90s? The slime thing?
Of course.
Slime was...
Everything was getting slime.
You had like the Ghostbusters toy and you could buy like a capsule of slime to like goo them through like a platform or something like that.
Nickelodeon slimed everybody, and so you had like Nickelodeon GAC.
That's right. So you had like a host before an episode would air. You'd have somebody at Universal Studios who like goes up and watches a live taping of, you know, whatever they're doing, and they would ultimately go underneath a giant pipe and get slimed with what was that stuff? Like what?
It was slime.
Just
it was green slime. Yeah. Oh, and I mean, like Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze.
This is true.
This is really, you know, there was a lot of slime going on.
I also had...
It even perpetuated like through the late 90s into the millennium into some toys, because I had a Jabba the Hutt toy called the Jabba Glob. And it was just Jabba, and he came with like a jar of green slime, and then he would puke the slime out of his mouth. That's all the toy did.
So you could reenact the Jabba kissing Leia with a slimy mouth scene or something.
I don't know.
Yeah, I remember another thing similar to that was Floam. Was that the other thing?
Floam was the other one. That was more the crunchier.
Yeah.
It wasn't as wet.
Yes.
It was like dry, but it was moldable.
Yeah. Another sort of slime-related product placement for Home Alone 2 was the Monster Sap Soap. If you didn't know this, there were 2 toys in Home Alone 2 that were promoted after the film came out, and the Monster Sap Soap, I've never heard about it before. I have looked it up, though, and if you want to buy an unopened container of Monster Sap Soap featured in Duncan's toy chest in Home Alone 2, it's going to cost you $2,000 on eBay.
$2,000?
You got that sitting in your pocket?
There's only one left. I'll tell you what, fans of the show, send it up here to the Chamber of Commerce.
We'll take it.
We'll take it. So, Home Alone 2, a lot of merchandising, especially Home Alone 2. But if you were a kid in this era, naturally, you know this was not unique to Home Alone. You were really used to being merchandised too with the movies you were watching.
Yeah, there were a ton of movies that came out that had toys related to them. I remember the merchandising for Lion King is actually what attracted me to the movie Lion King, which I still love to this day, but I absolutely love it. It was my favorite film when I was 9 years old. I love the Lion King, and it's because I went to a grocery store one day and saw a giant Simba just sitting. I'm like, oh, that's a really cool lion. I want to figure out what that's about. Yeah. That's all it took for some reason.
That's a good point. I mean, for movies, the advertising for movies back in the day was largely trailers that you saw before other movies.
Yeah.
Maybe you saw some trailers on television.
Yeah. Otherwise, it was word of mouth.
You saw an ad in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Maybe. And that was possibly enough for adults. But yeah, we think about advertising to kids. If you can advertise with a toy, then a kid is more than willing to align with the toy and then want to see the movie.
It becomes a much more intimate experience for kids, I think, when you have a toy associated with it and you can just play out different scenarios.
Right. That's my toy. Now I see my toy on the big screen.
And the first player in this game was George Lucas, who famously said, Fox Studios, you can take all of the grosses, but leave me the merchandising. Maybe not all of grosses, but leave me the merchandising. And Fox Studios said, yeah, good luck with that,
Go
George.
ahead. You're an idiot.
Yeah. And George approached Kenner Toys, who made models of all of these different Star Wars characters. It turned out to be a huge hit, and you could go home from that movie and go and buy your favorite character, and you've got that character in your hand, and you can play out different scenarios, you know?
Yeah.
If there wasn't enough in the movie about Boba Fett or Greedo or something, you can have a different scenario that plays out with them as a kid, and I remember having a huge ton of fun with this when I was younger.
Well, we've talked before about the novelization factor, right?
Yes.
Why did novelizations exist? If you wanted to keep reliving that movie, you couldn't necessarily just go and watch it again, right?
Yeah.
That was your ability to own it.
Yep.
Toys is the same thing for kids.
It's not just owning it too. It's you become a creator. You know, you become a part of the story by playing it around. Yeah. I remember one brand of toys that I think failed spectacularly because the film failed spectacularly was the movie Congo. I bought every single toy you could buy for the movie Congo.
You had like Laura Linney action figure.
I had Laura Linney. I had an Ernie Hudson. I had an Adwale action figure. He played Dahaga.
I had an Ernie Hudson, but he was a Ghostbuster.
Yeah, proper toy.
Yeah.
I think the reason I had these
actually,
toys...
I had Ernie Hudson from The Substitute. No, I didn't. That would have been awesome.
I remember just going into the toy store, though, KB Toys, and all of the Star Wars toys, all of the G.I. Joes, the Ninja Turtles, those things cost between $6 and $10.
Yeah.
You go to the clearance bin and you can get buy one, get one free Congo toys for $4 each. And I got multiple gorillas. I even got the giant gorilla that's not in the movie.
Well, they really did a bunch of them, huh?
Yes. And you could get the guy from Nip Tuck who plays the main character. Yeah. So I bought those Congo toys, and me and my friends, we would go out in our backyard and we would just reenact various different scenes. And
what was the main Amy?
Amy was the main gorilla, and she came with her little backpack thing that allowed her to translate her sign language into English. Yeah.
Wow.
No Stuart Pankin toy, though. He was in the movie, but you didn't get a Stuart Pankin.
Bummer. You liked those? Those toys?
I had a great time with those, and I still think very fun.
Did you buy them before you saw Congo?
No. I fell in love with Congo because it was one of these movies, I think we've talked about it before, but these PG-13 movies they're the rated R version of movies that kids can see. You watch it, and it's just edgy enough that a kid gets something out of it.
People die.
Yeah, and there's some pretty gruesome deaths in Congo. It's a little scary at times. Yeah. I have a lot of fond memories from Congo, not just from the toys, but that played into it quite a bit. Yeah. And it all came from because the movie did so poorly. I was able to just pull these things out of a clearance bin as much as I wanted.
That's funny, man.
Yeah.
I think the merchandising, the concept of merchandising in general, too, we saw a ton of it in the 20th century. I think of like fast food collectibles, right? There were always tie-ins. Yeah. So you'd get it for free, ostensibly, right? I mean, you bought the Happy Meal or the Kids Club meal or whatever. It came with a little toy, and oftentimes that was tied in with whatever movie was coming out, and that was really that was advertising.
Yeah, I remember Super Mario 3 in particular. McDonald's had a really cool line of Super Mario 3 toys, the NES game. Yeah, that was a huge thing to collect. And then Pokemon, when that became a big thing, Burger King did its own thing where you could like catch, and that was the big thing with Pokemon. I think Pokemon mastered this to a greater extent than George Lucas did. This mentality. Got to catch them all. Got to catch them all.
Right.
You know? And like
these are collectible.
You really are set. Like
there's 600 of them.
Every time there's a line of minifigs that come out for the Pokemon, you've got to get every single one. Go to Burger King, get as many Happy Meals as you can to make sure you get every single one of those little toys.
Yeah. How do you feel about this? I don't know, ethically, philosophically, merchandising with movies. I mean, we're obviously talking about how much fun we had with those types of toys as kids. Do you think it's just sort of like cheap exploitation of youthful consumers? Or do you think there's something like that's more magical about it?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a mix of both, because there are a lot of people who complain about Return of the Jedi in particular. A lot of people claim that George Lucas made the Ewoks
made a movie for toys
so he could market them as toys, and that's where I have a problem with it. If that was true, I think that it should be something that is derived naturally from the film. You know, it's accompanying piece. The Talkboy, I think, is a good example. Like, you see that in the movie and a kid thinks, I want that toy, you know? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with going to a toy store and buying the Talkboy and thinking, oh man, it's so cool that I can now record my voice and do a bunch of cool things with it.
Yeah.
Another thing that comes up with me is the Phantom Menace. There was a ton of marketing done with the Phantom Menace. They even had a special Pepsi can collection. You could get Pepsi Mountain Dew.
You were
Pepsi
looking for Yoda, right?
Yeah. And
Yoda was like the rare one or something?
Every can had a character's face on it, and Yoda was the gold can. Yeah. And if you managed to get, and from what I hear, nobody got them because they were just taken off the production line at Pepsi.
Right.
And so nobody ends up getting a gold Yoda, but I do remember thinking that was kind of a magical experience trying to collect all of them. It was close to 30 different characters.
Yeah.
And I remember that summer before Phantom Menace came out, me and my dad going to various different, party stores or even rest areas. I got Darth Maul from a rest area off of I-75, and it was one of the happiest days of my life.
Wow.
When I pulled that thing out of there. It was just really cool to collecting a Pepsi can.
You just said that you and your dad acting like hobos, riding around and digging through the trash. It was the happiest day of your life.
It was an adventure.
That's cool, man.
It was an adventure. It felt like you were going out there and trying to find treasure. And as silly as it is, that Phantom Menace is just horribly maligned. Yeah. People hate Phantom Menace. People hate Jar Jar Binks. People generally don't like Darth Maul. Just kind of a total goof.
Yeah.
But I got something out of it as a kid. It felt like an adventure to me, and it felt like a very special experience with my dad going out and finding these things and taking some semblance of, excitement anytime you actually did find a new can. It's like I'm one step closer to completing the collection.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think, obviously kids are being advertised to. Obviously, untold millions of parents were irritated that they had to buy all this extra stuff because a kid liked a movie or whatever. But I don't think that there's anything so precious about the movies themselves that there shouldn't be corresponding collectibles, toys, that if it continues to bring the consumer more and more joy, we could have a conversation about, well, this is over consumerism and all that, but it's the movies we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's entertainment. So I think if you like it, especially if you like it for nostalgia, go for it.
Misa Jar Jar Binks.
Nosy little pervert, or I'm gonna slap you silly. Oh, you're cooking, Frankie.
So I think all this comes down to is what we've sort of touched on already, but the fact that Home Alone was a really unlikely vehicle for excessive merchandising. We're used to seeing this with action movies, with monster movies, with fantasy movies, right? With creatures and good guys and bad guys. And we don't see that a lot with a family comedy.
Yeah, Ninja Turtles comes out, Star Wars comes out, maybe even the Terminator movies, Ghostbusters in particular.
Oh, yeah.
So these movies come out, and the studios know ahead of time, this is something kids are probably going to love.
Right.
And a way that we can get them to love it even more is to put a piece of plastic in their hands that connects them to it.
These characters, these creatures or whatever, they're really obvious toys, right?
Yes.
They translate literally from the screen to the palm of your hand.
Yeah, I mean, like in the Ninja Turtle toys in particular, those things look cool. They're really fun. It feels like you're holding an actual Ninja Turtle in your hand, and they do karate, and you can relive that as you're playing with these action figures. Same with G.I. Joe, same with Star Wars toys. Home Alone seems like a weird outlier. You don't see too many action figures for family films. There isn't like a bunch of action figures for the Goonies.
Right.
You know?
Right. And that's even more of like an adventure sort of fantasy movie.
Blank Check had no action figures. There's no Tone Loc from Blank Check.
Right. And it makes sense why even after it was a huge box office hit, you still have the larger toy companies passing on the licensing opportunity.
Yeah.
Because they're going, well, a family, sure, it's doing gangbusters at the box office, but it's still a family comedy. What are the toys?
Yeah.
It's not going to sell toys, but it did.
Yeah, and toy stores felt the same way. There were the year that the Talkboy came out, this thing sold like gangbusters, and toy stores weren't prepared. Tiger wasn't prepared either. The demand that toy stores anticipated led Tiger to making just too few of these Talkboys, to the point where when they were released at toy stores, people were rioting over it. People were having fist fights. It was the Tickle Me Elmo. It was the Beanie Babies phenomena, where people become obsessed with these toys to the point where they're willing to punch other people in a toy store to get them for their kid.
What is it, do you think? I mean, maybe this marketing and this merchandising ecosystem has just reached a white heat at this moment in time.
It doesn't feel like this kind of stuff happens anymore. It feels like the supply chain is swift enough. They can anticipate what toys are going to be wanted a little easier than they could back in the 90s.
Sure. Well, we don't really have the monoculture that we used to back then.
This is true.
Right? I mean, back when Home Alone 2 is coming out, we're still basically all watching the same few dozen cable channels. We're all seeing the same movies on the same release schedule.
Everybody was talking about Seinfeld at the water cooler the following morning that it came out. Same with any other popular show that came out back then. It's much different these days. You have streaming services and people can watch all different things that they like. And maybe there are a few pillars, you know, every once in a while you get like a Game of Thrones or a Lost or a Sopranos.
Yeah.
Even those things, though, not really.
Not everyone's seeing them. And you don't not everyone necessarily has access to it. It's also fragmented.
And very little merchandising associated with these things, you know. And so
is that true? Are we seeing less merchandising and toys and things like that for like big movies that are coming out? Or do I just not see them because I don't walk through the toy aisle?
It's probably because you don't walk through the toy aisle.
Yeah.
I don't know if these phenomena are as big as they were in the 90s. I think, like you said, we did have kind of a monoculture and people obsessed about these things a little more aggressively back in the 90s. And now it feels like people can break into niches. And it isn't so much that there's one mega toy that's just constantly selling. You don't necessarily have a Furby anymore.
Right. I think like the Pogs era, right? I mean, it took my school by storm. If you weren't playing Pogs, there wasn't an alternative. You just weren't doing it. But everyone was doing it. And I think nowadays it's not so much like that, right? With a Talkboy, a few kids want it. That means word of mouth, every kid wants it. And now all of them are clamoring to their parents about this thing. And the store runs out.
I do remember going to a friend's house and seeing that they had a Talkboy or I went to a friend's house and they had a 2XL and I became obsessed with the 2XL to the point where I took a bunch of boxes and turned myself into a 2XL that was then like doing trivia for my brother or friend.
Oh boy, Jimmy.
Man, I wish I hadn't revealed this on live air.
There's a lot of tales today. What's the last thing that you recorded on your Talkboy?
Probably Peter McAllister, the father.
That's pretty cool.
I don't know why he calls that out, you know? Okay, they bring the Talkboy up in this movie. It is really him. And when you find out that it's brought into the movie just for the sake of selling a toy to kids.
Yeah, it's prop to product.
Yeah.
In the movie, it's a non-working movie prop.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And he goes into the bath. The first thing you see is him going into the bathroom and recording his uncle singing Cool Jack, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
He sings
Jerk.
Cool Jerk. That's what it is. Cool Jerk. And that's kind of where all of the marketing campaign went too. If you look at any of the commercials for the Talkboys, it feels very much like you want to be like Kevin McAllister. You want to pull pranks on your siblings, record a conversation they didn't want you to hear.
Exactly. And then play it back slow and make them think it's dad or whatever.
They also had a Clueless crossover? Did I talk about this already?
No.
They had a Clueless crossover. So you had a Talkboy phone that could actually plug into an actual
it was a real phone
line.
Yeah.
And then there's a detector mode to see if somebody else is listening in.
Yeah.
I don't know what that does. Is it actually detect? Like, why would that be the case?
Some sort of toy gimmick, but that must have been like if you have your phone in your room and like little sibling is like picking up the receiver elsewhere.
I bet this is something that maybe modern audiences wouldn't relate to as much, but you used to have a single phone line that went into your house.
Right.
And there were multiple phones. And if somebody was on the phone with somebody else and you picked up a phone in another room, you could listen in on that conversation. You could hear what they were saying. I'm kind of wondering if this device picks up when somebody else is listening in on your conversation.
Yeah, it gives you a little warning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get off the phone.
I also love the crossover with Clueless, because you also had Talk Girls, which were like the pink versions of the Talkboys, and then there were see-through.
They had to gender them. They're like, well, we want girls to buy them too, but some girls are only going to want a pink one.
And now
it was the exact same thing, by the way. It was just called a Talk Girl.
Yeah. I kind of want to see the crossover VHS too, where they sell Home Alone 2 and Clueless together with the box set, so a brother and sister could buy it or something.
Yeah, exactly. The phone, the Talkboy, the whole shebang. Well, I mean, I think that it's just one more example, as we're always talking about here, but it's just one more example of what makes Home Alone a super unique movie. I mean, we know it's a beloved family comedy, but I think when we talk about it in the scale of like marketing and advertising and the phenomenon that it was, it's all these toys for a movie, a type of movie that would never otherwise get any sort of merchandising. Really reminds us how singular Home Alone was as a success and as a global phenomenon. Well, another great moment in time, another great day in the booth.
Yeah.
Jimmy, don't you think?
Here we are. Let's hope the shareholders were happy with that one. Maybe we can start merchandising our own for the Long Road Home Alone.
Hey, that's not a bad idea.
We'll sell different toys for Jimmy and Joey and Dan Glebensky, and we can
Mr. Producer.
Yeah, we can accidentally flush Dan Glebensky down the toilet like I did once with my Nip Tuck character from Congo.
Wait, you flushed him down the toilet?
I tied him to a string, and I just kind of like wanted to flush him and then pull him back, and I couldn't pull him back anymore. So he was lost down the toilet. I lost Nip Tuck character.
You have revealed some real out-of-pocket today, Jimmy.
Yeah.
I just got to admit.
I also made some stop-motion movies with Micro Machines. That was another toy that I had when I was younger.
Yeah.
I called it War in the Bedroom.
Yeah.
It was
you want to go clean up those Micro Machines?
And Leslie almost broke her neck. You know who else is going to break my neck? Dan Glebensky, because he owns us now.
You know? No one came in. No one burst in the booth. But I think that's a good idea, actually. I think we got to talk about marketing. Let's talk about the Chamber of Commerce. Yeah. So we got this funding injection into the show. We get some toys.
Yeah.
We get some, what other? Oh, we could get some cups.
Funding injections. Yeah.
You know, we could do a Talkboy sort of thing where we've got microphones. And you press a little button.
And it says something you like, and then says something
you like, or you don't like, or something like that.
We can do impressions of like Kevin McAllister, where we're slapping ourselves in the face or something like that.
We could probably get like a branded accordion.
Yeah.
Maybe for all the kids who are getting into polka.
Toy. If you don't actually want to play an accordion, you can just, there's a slinky. And you know what? They'll put your head on one end and my head on the other, and we'll just be slinkied around. You know,
and
like we're a corporate pawn.
Our toys, you know, we could also, there could be the jailhouse version of us from when we were in the Clink.
Oh, yeah.
Last year.
And then like living on the woods. Yeah. And then we can have like police characters who come and grab us and take us into jail.
Yeah. And the commercials, of course, they're going to have those terrific backdrops and like sets and everything that they never actually sold.
Yeah.
But these kids are like playing on a black box studio, right? And they just have like a tabletop and they've got like the whole landscape and everything.
You know what this makes me think? Monoculture is coming back, and it's going to be around the Long Road Home Alone toys.
It's coming back in a big way.
Coming Christmas 2000, whatever year it is.
That's right, 2000.
The Long Road Home Alone, Jimmy and Joey toys. Here we go. Talkboy, Tickle Me Elmo. People are going to be punching themselves in the face to get one of us.
Themselves silly.
I'm going to slap you silly.
Calling Tiger right now, and we're doing it.
Get out of here, you nosy little pervert.
Broadcast live from our studio in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, The Long Road Home Alone is hosted by Jimmy Dantes and Joey Z, and produced by Pat Muldoon. Be sure to tune in next time, don't forget your reading glasses, and keep the change, you filthy animals.